All right, lefties, it's brunch time. First and foremost, there will be a pinned comment if you're watching this on YouTube with 4 links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. If you're not following me on BitChute, by the way, I do make exclusive content there. And in a matter of a week or two, I'm going to begin making fully half of my content non-YouTube because YouTube keeps abusing people. So keeping that in mind, you should join me on at least one of those sites. That being said, it's funny to watch Sanders completely backstab the left. There was a Senate fight the other day with regards to the minimum wage hike aspect of the stimulus bill that's going forward. It's bloated and worthless and useless. It's not going to help the economy. The only thing that will help the economy is opening things back up for business unilaterally, totally, and beginning to recognize that the pandemic that we're in isn't really so much a pandemic as it is an endemic, now seasonal disease. Recognizing that and simply allowing people to get vaccinated and looking into potential treatments is basically all that we're going to be able to do, and nature will take its course at this point. Berniesanders completely backstabbed the left on the minimum wage hike. His idea has been raise the minimum wage to 15 years, but he decided to I guess Joni Ernst was actually the holdout from Iowa on this bill. The Senate has unanimously now passed through this non-binding referendum, which will lead directly into Biden's stimulus bill. $1.9 trillion, mostly wasted on large corporations and bombing people overseas. It's funny because we still have unspent money from the last stimulus, and this has been pointed out by the GOP that there's like $900 billion or something just sitting there that hasn't even been used yet. Like the majority of the last stimulus is still sitting there. Interesting times we live in, they decided to fuck the currency some more by hyperinflation, which is what 1.9 trillion will do. Now then, Bernie Sanders has spent years and years saying, we need a $15 an hour minimum wage, people can't pay their bills. But now he's saying, oh, well, I want to phase in. We're not going to do this during the pandemic. We're going to start afterward. Now, keep in mind, the idea of this being a singular, standalone, short-term pandemic, I think at this point is laughable. I guess the idea is, well, we can't raise wages while there's a disease going around. This is his excuse. Very, very convenient. Prepare for brunch, lefties. I don't think you're going to see the minimum wage hike to that level. Even for federal workers, I think there's a phase-in as well. What's going to happen is that they will incrementally raise it because they don't want you having a living wage. And they know that if they were to change the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and I've got a business with 3 workers, I just fire one of them. That's what'll happen. It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions when it comes to government intervention in fiscal systems. This is why I'm a libertarian. This is why I believe in capitalism. Did you remember what happened when it became mandatory for workplaces to help to provide basically a worker's subsidy for healthcare for full-time workers? What happened? They dropped their hours by a couple of hours a week in order to put them sub 40 hours a week so they no longer qualified as full-time workers. Loopholes will always exist. They will always be exploited because any time that the government attempts to interfere with capitalistic free market systems, inevitably it creates imbalance, and people who are capable of getting around that will. Of course they will. Doesn't matter if it's a little mom and pop shop with just one little janitor and a couple of clerks, or if it's a mega corporation with 10,000 employees. They will always seek to work around that because of profit motive, which is innate and, by the way, not a bad thing. The state's intervention is what causes the problem. Otherwise, things tend to exist at a reasonable equilibrium. In a totally free market situation, if a business is too abusive, especially in the internet age, in the information age, their brand loses loyalty and they get calls for boycotts, and then they either have to change their decision-making process or they get flatlined and a competitor comes along and displaces them. This is capitalistic evolution at hand. It is a good thing, it is natural, and it is the most expedient and speedy way to improve fiscal systems. Socialism is the best way to lock into place any corruption that's there and allow corporations, greedy sleazeballs, to pay off your political system to protect themselves against uprisers. Sanders, to his credit, has very wisely decided not to back what would be a job-killing situation. I suggest that this is an attempt to kick the can down the road till after the midterms, when the Democrats, I believe, fully intend, or fully expect, rather, to lose the House and Senate. Well, then it's out of their hands. They can blame those evil Republicans won't raise the minimum wage. We raised it by 50 cents an hour in our phase-in, but now they've delayed it. There will be no $15 an hour minimum wage because they hate the working class. It's formulaic what's happening. They realize it's a bad idea to actually raise it. See, what they want to do, during the election, they'll say, well, we're going to give you student debt relief. We're going to give you minimum wage hike. We're going to give you free healthcare and shit. And then afterwards, they will work themselves up into a pretzel in order to avoid doing that. Because the proposals that they made were never seriously being made in the first place. These people are all rich. Many of them own businesses or shares in business. They pal around with billionaires. They don't represent you. Dude, the other day, Time magazine tacitly admitted that a cabal of billionaires interfered in the U.S. election by working with far-left advocacy groups in order to affect local voting machine regulations and expand mail-in voting. Do you think billionaires did that because they wanted the little people to have more of a slice of the pie? Or do you think they did it out of greed because they want more of the slice of the pie? You don't understand human nature if you expect the political cabal that currently exists to represent your best interest. I've managed to rise to fiscal stability. They don't care about me either. I could make $1 million a year and they would consider me the same as a hobo living under a bridge. These people have wealth the likes of which is so fantastic you can't even describe it. Trump, by the way, being one of them. You got to understand this. So I love seeing this. You prepare for brunch, leftists. You're probably not going to get student loan debt relief. By the way, Biden's student loan debt relief plan of $10,000 per person is arguably worse than just canceling it all. I'll be explaining that in a separate video. That's about all. Peace out.